Namaskar, I am Neil and I welcome you all to the second video in our Prelims 2022 series. Before we begin the analysis of the next 10 questions, I just want to first of all apologize for the delay in uploading this next video. And the reason was fairly simple. Results for mains 2022 were slated to come out, and as any individual who has given the mains would tell you, it's really hard to focus on anything productive during that period when you know that the result is going to come out and it doesn't come out. So the result did come out yesterday evening, and I was fortunate enough to find my name in the list of successful candidates who have cleared mains this year. So first of all, I'd just like to thank all the people who have been sending me their wishes, who know me personally. So thanks a lot for your uh, warm wishes. And be rest assured, a lot of people were also concerned if I'd be able to continue with the video series. Be rest assured that uh, since I have started it, I will make it a point that I finish the series as soon as possible while maintaining the highest quality. And also moving forward, my intent is to eventually finish the analysis from 2011 to 2022 in an exhaustive way, so that it helps you better your game of elimination one, and it gives you more confidence that prelims is indeed only about basic sources plus execution of those uh, application of that knowledge. So before we start the discussion, let me just reiterate the two basic principles that are at play that we have discussed in the last session. Recap: number one, to clear prelims at this point in time, you only need basic sources plus you need to leverage common sense. Some questions will only need your knowledge from basic sources. Some questions will need both knowledge from your basic sources plus application of that knowledge using common sense. And finally, questions which are not coming from a standard source are essentially, commonsensical questions. They are logical reasoning questions, and we'll see what I exactly mean by that in, the question analysis to come. So this was the first principle we need to keep in our mind. Basic sources and common sense will get you through. Number two, overview is far more fruitful in this exam than in-depth knowledge. That also we have seen in our past session, and we'll reaffirm that in the current session. You will see it for yourself. So let's just quickly start. So question number one, basic, let's get our basics in place with the following. So the question wants us to find out the correct statements. I'll circle correct. It says, consider the following statements. Statement one says, pursuant to the report of H.N. Sanyal committee, I haven't read of this fact at all. I'm not going to make a judgment. I will move to the next statement. Number two, Constitution of India empowers Supreme Court and High Court to punish for contempt of themselves. To be honest, in the examination hall, I was not sure of this statement either, whether it was the Constitution or a statute which empowered the Supreme Court and High Court. So I will also leave my judgment on this statement. As soon as I come to statement number three, it says Constitution of India defines civil contempt and criminal contempt. Anybody who has read Lakshmikant even once or twice would know that this statement is incorrect. Constitution of India doesn't define civil contempt. Recently, when there were a lot of news on contempt, on the power of contempt, this was the first piece of trivia that was floated around also in news. And number two, even in Lakshmikant, this is very clearly written, and this is a fact which is very easily retained. The first thing that people retain about contempt of court, that it is not defined in Constitution of India. So with three, you can be fairly confident you eliminate three. The moment you eliminate three, you are only left with two options, A and B. So you have improved your odds of getting to the correct answer. Statement number four says, in India, the parliament. So now you don't even need to focus. You don't need to focus at all on statement number one or statement number two, because both are correct. So this is correct. This is correct because both options have 1 and 2. Now statement number 4 says, in India, the parliament is vested with the powers to make laws on contempt of court. I was not exactly aware of this provision in the examination hall, but this statement number 4, as I said, Also, you need to apply common sense. You really need to be observant. You really need to pay heed to other options in the examination hall, and also otherwise when you're analyzing. So statement number 4 flows from statement number 1. So since contempt of court, the provision is regulated by this act is passed by parliament. So since it was passed by parliament in the first place by 1970, in 1971, it will have the power to make further laws on the provision, because if they did not have this power, statement 1 would have also been incorrect. So by that logical extension, I marked 4 as correct. I arrive at option number B, which is indeed the correct option. So you've seen how using just your very basic knowledge from Lakshmikant, and by being observant, by keeping your ears, eyes, and your, most importantly, your mind open in the examination hall, how you give yourself the best chance to arrive at the right answer. Next question. So which of the following is correct with reference to India? Consider the following statements. Statement 1 says government law officers and legal firms are recognized as advocates, but corporate lawyers and patent attorneys are excluded from recognition as advocates. So again, I have not read this provision, but my exhaustive analysis of prelims tells me that whenever UPSC has statements like this, but not this, or exclusion, it is talking about so it's a negative statement too. So whenever UPSC has a negative statement, or it has a statement of the form this but not this, if not always, there are chances that UPSC has twisted that statement. That chances, again, I'm reiterating. And in which situation have they twisted it, and in which situation have they simply lifted it directly from a text? That resolution will only come with practice and more analysis of previous questions. So in this question number 1, in this statement number 1, you see that they say, essentially the statement is saying that there is we recognize advocates, right? So government law officers plus legal firms though are recognized as advocates, but patent attorneys and corporate lawyers are not. So I could not logically think of a reason why they would be recognized as advocates and they would not. And I knew this hasn't come from a standard source. Since this hasn't come from a standard source, this is a logical reasoning question. This is my common heuristic. So I said this doesn't make logical sense. Common ये किसी basic text से तो आया नहीं है, और common sense से इसका कोई मतलब नहीं बनता है. And UPSC I know also plays in statements of the form this but not this. So I bagged my hunch, I bagged my analysis that I've done over the last 3-4 years, and I marked this as incorrect. Right? Again, I'm reiterating. The form is this but not this. And also logically, there is no reason as a layman as to why these two would be recognized as advocates and these would not. So I marked this as incorrect. I eliminated A and C. Next statement says bar councils have the power to lay down the rules. This is a positive statement. It is not saying bar council cannot do this, this and this. It is saying bar councils have the power to. So it's a positive statement, and have the power to lay down the rules. And again, commonsensically, I don't see any reason to eliminate it. Bar councils, yes, of course, they will have the power to lay down the rules relating to legal education and recognition of law colleges. Completely agreed. I didn't exactly know of the provisions beforehand, but one, this was a positive statement, and number 2, I didn't have a strong enough reason to eliminate it. It did not say that bar councils have the power to lay down the rules relating to legal education but not for recognition of law colleges. If the statement would have been of that form, then I would have considered to eliminate the option. Why? Because that is how UPSC usually twists statement, and that resolution has come with exhaustive analysis. So that is why I eventually intend to analyze not only this 2022 moving forward, but 2011 to 2022. Because as I've said, I need your patience in the beginning. Maybe initially some of these commonsensical heuristics would not really appear commonsensical, but once you have the bird's eye view of these entire 11-12 year worth of previous questions, all of this would be on your tips. All of these ways to eliminate options would be on your tips. So that is why I said analyze these by yourself, and supplement that analysis with these videos I'm making. And that is why I'm taking slightly longer initially, so that you get the knack of using these heuristics. Initially, they won't be commonsensical to you because they are commonsensical to me. I have spent 5 years in this cycle, and I have analyzed these previous questions, I think more than 10 to 12 times. And every time I analyze the same paper that I've analyzed, let's say a year ago, I get new insights. So, this knack will only come with time, but you have to trust me when I tell you that these heuristics, they work like a charm in the examination hall. And my results have been a testament to it. So let's come to the next question. Question says, which of the following correct? Bill amending the constitution requires a prior recommendation. Completely incorrect. Completely basic statement from Lakshmikant about the powers of president and of the amendability of constitution. It does not require a prior recommendation of president. You don't even need to think about statement 2 and 3. As soon as I eliminate statement number 1, you arrive at the right answers. Again, I did the same in the examination hall. And this is the beauty of this examination. You just need basic sources. So anybody who has read Lakshmikant even twice would retain the information that is being asked in statement number 1. You don't even need to look at statement 2 and 3. Of course, moving forward, UPSC might ask a question standalone on statement number 2, on statement number 3. So as a further exercise, I always encourage people to read about 2, read about 3. And I also intend to cover these snippets of information in a way that you retain all this information without investing much of your time. But right now my intent is just to show you that you just need basic sources plus common sense to solve this question. You don't need the knowledge as to whether statement 2 and 3 are correct or not. Eliminate 1, you arrive at the answer. Let's move forward. We can let's just look at it also, so that you realize that even statements 2 and statements 3, both these statements are not too difficult either. It says when this bill is presented, it is obligatory. Of course, it's an obligation, and it must be passed by both. By a special majority, there is no correct. All these basic pieces of information is given in Lakshmikant. And to be honest, you don't even I keep reiterating the same point over and over again, so that it becomes your second nature, so that it becomes a part of your instinct. What is it that I want you to understand from this video? You don't need fancy stuff to clear prelims. You just need basic sources, common sense. Basic sources, common sense. Basic sources, common sense. That's it. Question number 14. The Constitution of India classifies ministers into 4 ranks. Completely incorrect. There is no such provision in Constitution of India. And also, this is another heuristic now I want to talk about. Whenever the question says the Constitution of India does this or does that, you should always consider there are 3 ways in which something could become established. Either Constitution says that, or there is an act or a statute, or it's a convention. So, and of course, anybody who has read the chapter on Parliament would know that Constitution of India doesn't have that classification. And so you can easily eliminate 1. The moment you eliminate 1, you are left only with option B and D. Statement 2 is correct. Number of ministers, union government, including PM, shall not exceed 15%. Very basic statement from the chapter on Parliament. Or on executive, I think. Or I think in both. So as you're seeing, it is all about basic. All these statements, all these 4 questions that we have discussed until now can be solved by just leveraging your knowledge from Lakshmikant. And that also you don't have to read 10 times, just twice or thrice. You read Lakshmikant and then you jump to these previous questions and then you try and apply that knowledge. And you have to trust me and you have to believe me that that is all you need. You don't need to go to fancy compilations. You don't need to read a lot of videos. Reading Lakshmikant twice or thrice and commonsensically applying these principles will give you the best shot of clearing the exam. All these 4, first 4 questions were really easy. If you have a different opinion, tell me in the comment box if you found any of these questions difficult. So question number 15 says, which of the following are exclusive powers of Lok Sabha? to ratify the declaration of emergency, to pass a motion of no confidence, to impeach the president of India. 3 is incorrect. We know that it is not an exclusive power of Lok Sabha. To impeach the president, of course, Rajya Sabha has an equal footing. So you eliminate 3. My bad. You eliminate 3. So you're left with only 2 options. A and B. So you don't even have to think about 2 at this point in time. And of course, 2 is correct. I mean, anybody who has read the chapter, even once or twice, this Lakshmikant, if you have read once or twice, you know that statement number 2 is correct. So now we have to look at statement number 1. Again, the chapter on emergency clearly tells you that to ratify, you need the ratification from both of the houses. So to ratify the declaration of emergency, this is not an exclusive power of Lok Sabha. So eliminate 1 and arrive at the right answer. बिल्कुल बेसिक नॉलेज यार, आई कांट स्टेट इट इनफ, एंड व्हाई आई एम रिपीटिंग इट ओवर एंड ओवर अगैन लाइक अ ब्रोकन रिकॉर्ड इज बिकॉज नोबडी टोल्ड मी दिस व्हेन आई वाज एन फ्रेश एस्पिरेंट. एवरीबडी केप्ट टेलिंग मी कि ये करना है तो कम कर लिया, और करना है, ये करना है, वो करना है, एंड उसमें यू लूज साइट ऑफ वॉट इज़ द बेयर मिनिमम यू नीड टू डू, एंड वॉट इज़ द सब्जेक्ट यू नीड टू डेवलप कमांड ऑन. Because again, as they say, a wealth of information leads to poverty of attention. जितना ज़्यादा सोर्स रेफर करोगे उतनी ज़्यादा अटेंशन वुड बी स्कैटर्ड, उतनी कम रिटेंशन होगी. यू वोंट इवन रिमेंबर द बेसिक pieces of trivia in the examination hall because you have not revised properly. Why have you not revised properly? Because you're referring multiple useless sources. Bar, I will keep saying this until it becomes a part of your instinct. Basic sources, basic source for polity is Lakshmikant. Lakshmikant plus common sense. That's all. That is all. Next question number 16. Says which of the following correct? With reference to anti-defection law in India, the law specifies that nominated legislator cannot join any political party within 6 months. So the examiner, the person who has made the question has changed can to cannot. A nominated member, so let's say this is when he or she gets elected, this is the 6-month mark. So there is a window for 6 months wherein the nominated legislator can join the political party, any political party. So that nominated member cannot join any political party within 6 months of being appointed to the house. So they have simply negated the correct statement. That's another way UPSC twist the statement. So whenever, that is why I keep saying, whenever I see a negative statement, of course not always, but at least I get on high alert that there's a possibility that the examiner, the person who has made the question, has twisted the original statement, which would have been correct in the first place, or which would have been positive in the first place. Cannot also made me slightly more attentive, and also I knew this is very basic knowledge. मतलब ideally तो you should not even be applying common sense in simple questions like this. These things should be on your tips कि हाँ nominated member है तो 6 महीना तक he can join any political party. Eliminate 1. Left with B or D. B says the law does not provide any time frame within which the presiding officer has to decide a defection case. Again, correct. This has been a bone of contention. This has been a criticism leveled at the anti-defection law that there is no timeline. Correct. See, now even statement number 2 is negative. So don't come to me and tell me कि even 2 is negative. Of course, they should only make you attentive कि हाँ गलत होने के chances है, but ideally in questions which are coming directly from a standard source, you should not be applying common sense. There should only be a method of last resort or a method of application in questions which have not come from a standard source. Right? So, क्या है basic sources? As I keep saying, basic sources. That is why I don't say common sense plus basic sources. You have to prioritize basic sources. Then you have to supplement it with common sense. In some questions, you will need both. In questions, where the content is outside the scope of any standard book, you have to solely rely on common sense. जैसे in question number 12, you don't read this in any book. और ये तो कोई बहुत न्यूज़ में भी नहीं था मेरे हिसाब से. इसको I solved solely based on common sense, क्योंकि बेसिक नॉलेज है ही नहीं. अब यहाँ बेसिक नॉलेज से सॉल्व किया, इसको बेसिक नॉलेज से सॉल्व किया, इसको बेसिक से सॉल्व किया, इसको बेसिक से सॉल्व किया. राइट, सो द आंसर इज बी. आई मार्क्ड बी. सी, अभी तक 6 क्वेश्चन 6 के जे करेक्ट हुए. हर एक में बेसिक सोर्स जो है चला है, and you have to understand that that is all you need. Basic sources, common sense. Which of the following are correct? And Attorney General of India, Solicitor General of India. So again, this is a very basic question from the chapter Attorney General of India, Solicitor General of India are the only officers of Government of India who are allowed to participate in the meetings. Again, when you see a directive like only, of course not always, but it should make you hyper attentive that there's a possibility that it is made up or there's a catch. Okay? Here there's a different catch. The catch here is, of course, this you should be solving questions like these with your knowledge. The catch is only Attorney General is allowed to participate, not Solicitor General. But anyway, even without that knowledge, this only should catch your attention. Eliminate one, basic knowledge. Then it says, according to the Constitution of India, the Attorney General of India submits his resignation when the government. Now you remember, right, this heuristic that I talked about in question number 14, that usually whatever is established comes from these three sources. So either something is constitutionally mandated. So again, I become really attentive as soon as I see this. According to Constitution of India. Of course, it has been correct in past few statements also, but you should at least you should get attentive that there might be a catch in statements like these. So there are three ways in which things get established. Either it is mandated in Constitution, or it is mentioned in a statute or an act, or it is a method of convention. So 2 is established by convention. Of course, it is not a mandate, but Constitution doesn't have a provision of that sort. So eliminate 2, arrive at the answer D. Right? So I think you're now getting the knack of understanding how you apply your basic knowledge and how you use the knowledge you leverage from previous questions. Why I had this insight of getting really attentive when as soon as I see a statement beginning with according to the Constitution of India. That is because I have analyzed the previous questions thoroughly. So this is another insight you need to take care of. Question number 18. So it says, which of the following are correct with reference to the writs issued by the courts in India? I'm planning to make really short videos on all of these topics so that you would retain this basic information really quickly. And so of course I would detail writs and how to remember all those 5 writs in a really concise manner, because it took me a lot of time to memorize them. But right now our focus is just to illustrate and show and give you the basic tools to enable you to solve these questions with just basic knowledge and common sense. At this point in time, it is even really funny to me that I have become a broken record, but I can't state this enough. When you write the prelims this year, sitting in the examination hall in 2023, I hope my voice to reverberate in your head, which just tells you, that you got it. It is not a matter of having done fancy stuff. Basic sources, common sense, basic sources, common sense, basic sources, common sense. So question 18, which of the following are correct? With reference to writs issued by the courts, consider the following. Mandamus will not lie against a private organization unless it is entrusted with a public duty. Correct? So, of course, it will not lie against a private organization unless it is entrusted with common duty. Anybody who has read those basic 5 writs knows this. So, when you're reading writs, you have to know the name. What does it mean? Because those are Latin names. Function, jurisdiction. Don't worry, I will come out with a short in really soon. I'll try to come with that short video really soon. And within 2 to 3 minutes, I would make you memorize those 5 writs, their functions and their jurisdiction. So 1 is correct. So of course 1 is correct, as we have talked. Statement number 2 is wrong. Anybody who has read Mandamus knows that even though it may be a government company, if it is a government company, Mandamus will lie against it. So statement number 2 is incorrect. As soon as you eliminate 2, you arrive at the right answer. 3 is correct, of course. Quo warranto is the only writ in which you don't need a locus standi. So again, very basic question from Lakshmikant, very basic question on writs. And if you need assistance in memorizing the name of these writs, their function and their jurisdiction, I will come up with a short video really soon. Question number 19 says, which of the following is correct? With reference to Ayushman Bharat digital mission, consider the following statements. Ab, yeah, listen, this question has not come from a basic source. ठीक है? So for me, this is a purely logical reasoning question. जैसे this question number 12 was a logical reasoning question for me, वैसे ही this question also is a logical reason. This, we don't read this in a standard text. People will come up to you telling you कि इस compilation से आया, this has come from that compilation, it was discussed in that video or this video. I don't think you can solve it with the knowledge of having done those videos or having done any of those compilations. Logical reasoning का question है ये. क्यों? Basic source plus common sense. Basic source तो है नहीं इसमें, तो we'll use common sense. कैसे लगेगा common sense? तो स्टेटमेंट वन सेज प्राइवेट एंड पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल्स मस्ट अडॉप्ट इट. अब लॉजिकली तो यू कैन से यार, मतलब इट्स अ गुड इनिशिएटिव, एवरी हॉस्पिटल शुड अडॉप्ट इट, मस्ट अडॉप्ट इट. बट मस्ट एज अ वर्ड, सिंस इट्स अ लॉजिकल रीजनिंग क्वेश्चन, I care less about the content and more about the logical reasoning aspect of it. So must adopt it. Must means there's a mandate, and usually mandates are wrong. Usually, very seldom do we find in legislations that there are mandates for these schemes. So this is less likely to be correct. Of course, there is a very small possibility that there could be a provision in which this has been mandated. But it's my experience of thoroughly analyzing 2011 to 2021 previous questions tells me that mandate usually is wrong. Mandates usually don't happen. So I would back my hunch and I will eliminate one. As soon as I eliminate one, I arrive at B. But since I'm not sure about one, I would anyway read about statement 2 and 3. Statement 2 says, as it aims to achieve universal health coverage, every citizen of India should be a part of it ultimately. Again, it's an extreme statement. Of course, there could be an aim, but should be, there are two, should and every. There are two extremish statements. So I am less inclined, pay close attention to the word I'm using. I'm less inclined to mark this as correct. Could be correct on a different day. But this insight that I've developed over last 5 years by analyzing previous question tells me that usually extremish statements like these are very rarely correct. Out of 10 questions that you attempt, they might only be correct in 1 or 2. And prelims is a game of probability. So I'm going to back my hunch and I will hope that it is one of those 8 questions. And even if it is not one of those 8 questions, I'm willing to take a negative in this question. But I know that mostly I will have a very good hit rate of getting this correct. Statement 3 says, it has seamless portability across the country. Seamless portability across. Now this is not an extreme statement. It has seamless. Now seamless is not an extreme word. It's a vaguish word right now. It has seamless portability. होगी क्यों नहीं होगी? 3 is correct. So by 3 different heuristics, I'm arriving at the same answer, B. So then I'm going to back my hunch. Anyway, I have a very high risk appetite. I attempt as many questions as I can without taking a wild guess. In this question, I have not taken a wild guess. I have used my knowledge accumulated from my analysis of previous questions. I am fairly confident that at least in 8 of the 10 questions that I attempt of this sort, I'm going to get to the right answer. Mandates usually don't work. Mandate नहीं होती. Must usually गलत होता है. I eliminate 1. Again, 2 extreme statements, 2 extreme words. Every citizen should. 2 eliminate किया. 3 सुनने में भी ठीक लग रहा है. कोई extreme connotation नहीं है. 3 sounds correct. I will mark B. It was a risky attempt and again I was fortunate B was correct. So my idea is to just give you all the tools to give you the best shot of clearing the exam. Whether you end up using it, whether you end up agreeing to my method is not my concern. You can agree to disagree, you can use it, you can further hone it. That is entirely down to you. But I am sure with my experience that it works like a charm in at least 80 to 90% of the cases. And which you will see in further videos to come. Final question of the day. So it says, with reference to Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. अब ये थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट टॉपिक आ गया. यूजुअली वी डोंट रीड डेप्यूटी स्पीकर इन डिटेल. तब इसमें आई विल ऑल्सो हैव टू अप्लाई कॉमन सेंस थोड़ी सी. देखते हैं कितनी चलती है. करेक्ट. एज पर द रूल्स ऑफ प्रोसीजर द इलेक्शन ऑफ डेप्यूटी स्पीकर शैल बी हेल्ड ऑन सच दैट एज द स्पीकर में फिक्स. तो अगेन I am slightly skeptical of this situation because it says rules of procedure, conduct of business. I don't know if this provision is mentioned in these two sources, but again, I'm going to hold on to this statement. I'm not going to make a judgment on it yet. Second, it says there's a mandatory provision. Again, there's a slightly extreme statement that the election of the candidate as deputy speaker shall be from either the principal party or the ruling party. Usually, it could be a convention, but I mean, we don't read a mandatory provision in the election of deputy speaker. I think this is one statement which you would be fairly confident about. This you should be fairly, confidently eliminating. As soon as you eliminate 2y, extremely connotation, and we usually remember the mandatory provisions we read in constitution कि क्या mandatory है क्या नहीं है. ऐसी mandate हमने नहीं पढ़ी होती. तो you eliminate B and you eliminate C. Now you're left with A and C. That means 3 तो correct है ही. 3 के बारे में you don't have to think a lot. Now it's only a matter of finding whether 1 is correct or 4 is correct. See, suddenly from a 4 statement question, it is an either or question now. कि या 1 correct है या 4 correct है. वैसे पढ़ लेते हैं. What is the statement number? What does statement number 3 say? 3 says डेप्यूटी स्पीकर हैज़ द सेम पावर एज अ स्पीकर. में होगी, ठीक बात है, सही भी है, सोचना भी नहीं है इसके ऊपर. 4 says the well established parliamentary practice regarding the appointment of deputy speaker is that motion is moved by speaker and duly seconded by prime minister. अब श्योर तो मैं ना 1 के बारे में हूँ ना 4 के बारे में हूँ. आई एम नाइदर श्योर अबाउट 1 और अबाउट 4. बट 4 says that motion is moved by speaker and duly seconded by prime minister. In my understanding, in my study of the constitution, in my study of Lakshmikant, in even your study of Lakshmikant, you could not think of any provision where PM has any special power, when PM is an executive. But when the prime minister is in the parliament, he is another legislator. So for, of course, I couldn't exactly remember the mandate in the examination hall, but I was really skeptical of the fact that if prime minister would have the power to second that motion. And that is why, and statement number 1 was more likely in my eyes. Of course, I also had my doubts about statement number 1 as to whether it came from rules of procedure and conduct of business, or whether it's a matter of convention, or whether it is maintained in a statute. But I was more skeptical about statement 4 than I was about statement 1. Why? Because simply put, prime minister is an executive, and I couldn't recall any provision wherein the prime minister has a special power while sitting in parliament. In parliament, the prime minister is another legislator, and so I backed my hunch again in this case, and I preferred 1 over 4 as the correct statement, and that is why I marked A. And again, the answer turned out to be correct. So if you have a look, in my first discussion, I had a hit rate of 9 out of 10. Here I have a hit rate of 10 out of 10. And why has that been the case? And you have seen the analysis, you would see that I have leveraged basic knowledge from Lakshmikant plus common sense. Again, I would keep reiterating the same. For people who have just started watching the analysis, some of these commonsensical principles would not appear commonsensical at all. Why? Because I have had the time and space to analyze the previous questions thoroughly. But I assure you, this is a personal guarantee. The more you analyze these previous questions, the more you would also start seeing that pattern. My role is to just facilitate that role, to get you the entry into this analysis game, and just to show you how you analyze it. I would still encourage you to go back and spend time with these questions and analyze them yourselves and see if my insights make sense. Thanks a lot for your time. I think that will be it. I will now come back with the further videos in the series really soon. I intend to finish the entire series before 20th December. I hope I'm able to deliver it. Once again, thanks a lot for your kind wishes. I'll also have to now spend some time in preparing for the interview, but I'm certain that with your wishes, something good will come out at the other end. I think that will be it from this video. Thanks a lot for taking out time to view this. I personally have no doubt that this is going to add tremendous value in your preparation. If you like the video, feel free to like, share and subscribe to the channel. In case you dislike the video, there is also a dislike button, so feel at ease to use that button too. And if you have any doubts, if you have any counter propositions, feel free to use the comment section. Thanks a lot, and I'm going to see you soon. Take care.